Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's Proclaim the greatest radio show. Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. This is your guest host, Big Easy, filling in for Jim. Sitting here with our senior baseball analysts, J Dash and JK47. We're going to continue our baseball talk with the National League West today, and specifically the Colorado Rockies.
Believe it.
What do they got? Do they got anything this year? Can they make moves?
Well, they didn't have anything last year, and they really didn't make any big moves in the offseason. If you look, they extended relief pitcher Adam Ottavino for 3 years. Yeah, he's a good pitcher. Unfortunately, he's out for most of the season with Tommy John surgery, although he can come back at some point this year, and their bullpen, in my mind, does look pretty good. But outside of that, they signed relief pitcher Jason Mott. They signed relief pitcher Chad Qualls. You can see they're building up this bullpen. But then they signed first baseman Mark Reynolds. We know this guy has some power, but he strikes out way too much. It drives his average down. They signed left fielder Gerardo Parra because they got rid of left fielder Corey Dickerson. Now, I think that's a downgrade, actually. And they signed outfielder Ryan Rayburn to a minor league deal as well. And like I said about that trade involving Corey Dickerson, they also gave up third baseman Kevin Padlow to Tampa Bay. And they got relief pitcher Jake McGee in return, another relief pitcher, and German Marquez as well. What they lost this offseason, they lost Rex Brothers. They traded him to the Cubs. The Cubs actually ended up cutting him, I believe. And then they lost John Axford as well to free agency, and starting pitcher Cal Kendrick to free agency. One other loss they have is a part of this bullpen. It is Jairo Diaz. This guy looked like he could be a very good relief pitcher. In fact, I thought at one time he could be a closer, and I still do, actually. But he actually just went down not long ago with Tommy John. So he'll be done for 2016 as well. And then remaining unsigned 47, first baseman Justin Morneau.
Tough break, eh?
What do you think about Morneau? You think he should be signed? You think someone should go after him?
Well, I think it's interesting. Nobody will want to take a flyer out on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not that bad of a player. Obviously, 2 years ago when he went to Colorado, he had that big season. Last year, he was injured for most of the season, I believe, but he was still all right. So, yeah, I'd like to see Justin Morneau go somewhere. He's a pretty good hitter. All right, so let's take a look at this team. Like I said, in left field, they got rid of Corey Dickerson. They bring in Gerardo Parra. So I think it's a little bit of a downgrade, although Parra isn't that bad of a player, to tell you the truth. And then in center field, Charlie Blackmon. This guy has showed over the past couple years he's a very good hitter. He plays good defense as well. He'll give you some pop and a little bit of speed. And then Carlos Gonzalez in right field. As long as this guy stays healthy, he is a huge power bat. How many home runs did he have last season, 47? 40 home runs. And you said something about that he's played in the most games of his career as well.
Yeah, he actually started, even though he was a little bit hurt at the beginning of the year, he actually fought through it at a slow start.
Yeah, he did have a real slow start, but 40 home runs, that's ridiculous. And this guy's been good over the course of his career. I mean, at one time, he was one of the elite outfielders in all of baseball. I don't know if you still want to say that, but when you see 40 home runs, it's hard not to believe that.
Well, including 292 and 32 after June 1st.
Please believe it. That shows how bad he was in the beginning of the season, though, because what was his average, 270-something?
271.
Yeah, so there you go. But as long as Gonzalez stays healthy, I mean, this outfield still looks pretty good. Not as good as last year, in my opinion, like I said, without Dickerson and with Parra in. But, I mean, it's still a pretty solid outfield. And then you go look at third base. You got the Gold Glove winner the past couple seasons, Nolan Arenado. This guy's a huge power bat as well. You were saying before 47, you'd like to see what he'd do outside of Colorado, though, because, I mean, these power numbers are huge from him. And if you really look in the minors, I mean, he had some power, and he was always a pretty good hitter. But, I mean, he's taken it to another level here in the bigs. And like I said, he's a Gold Glove third baseman as well. So this is their best player right now, wouldn't you say?
Oh, definitely. The defense and the offense, it's there. I mean, I didn't see him being able to blow up like he did last year. 30 home runs really wouldn't have surprised me, though. I mean, but I'll tell you what. I mean, he really came into his own, especially his power.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I never saw 40 home runs from this guy.
No, me neither, or else I'd have picked him up a long time ago in fantasy and held him, but I just didn't see it, so I never picked him up, and I was dead wrong.
Dynasty.
How about shortstop? What are they going to do there? Jose Reyes, they placed him on paid leave because he has a domestic violence going on. I think he assaulted his wife while they were in Hawaii or something. And he's going to get suspended to begin the season. And from what I'm hearing, he's not even going to come back with the Colorado Rockies. They're going to be done with him because they have good prospects here in the minors, actually. But really, Trevor Story, this is a young guy. He has good speed, good power. He has a solid walk rate as well, but he Ks a little bit too much. In fact, he Ks a lot too much, actually. But he's something of a 260, 270 hitter, but he could give you 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases in a season, maybe even a little bit more on both. But it could turn out something like an Ian Desmond is the kind of guy I'm thinking, a guy that Ks way too much, but he's still a good all-around player. There's actually talk that he could start the season as the starting shortstop for the Rockies and then just never give up the job if he plays well enough. But they also have this Christian Adames as well. He's 24 years old, hit .311 last season with a .362 on base in AAA, 11 jacks, 11 stolen bases, only K'd 56 times in 463 at-bats, just 36 walks as well, though. They did give him some time in the bigs last season, 53 major league at-bats. He only hit .245 with a .298 on base, no home runs, no stolen bases. There's still questions of whether he can bring the moderate pop speed combination from the minor leagues to the big leagues and produce in the bigs. So there's still a question there about that. But I think at worst, this guy can play around the field. He can play third base, shortstop, second base, and be a good utility infielder for him and get some playing time.
I mean, there's a good possibility, too. These guys are just stopgaps until Brendan Rodgers is ready.
Yeah, I mean, he's their best prospect right now. Outside of John Gray, I guess they consider John Gray a prospect still when he's their number one prospect, in my mind at least, and a lot of other people's. But Brendan Rodgers, he's number 2 on the list, and they just drafted this guy last season. And, yeah, that's definitely their future shortstop, you'd think. But Trevor Story, I mean, if he comes out and hits well, they're going to have to find a spot for him as well. And you look at second base, DJ LeMahieu, he's not a huge name or anything, but he hit over 300 last season. Gives you a tiny bit of pop, maybe 6, 7, 8 home runs over the course of a season. But he had over 20 stolen bases last year as well. This guy produced last season, and I don't know if I can expect it from him this season. I don't know if he's that good of a hitter. He never was a 300 hitter before last season, but he's still a young guy, so maybe he is a pretty good hitter. Granted, he's in Colorado, playing for Colorado, so your average, your home runs are usually inflated or whatever. But LeMahieu plays good defense as well, so this guy looks like he's going to be able to stick at second base as well. So, I mean, they got a lot of players here they got to find room for, and nobody here really costs too much money right now. Arenado will one day, but it's going to be hard to drive some of these guys out. But then you look at first base. I'm not too high on what they have out here. It's going to be some kind of combination between Ben Paulson and Mark Reynolds. Both of them strike out way too much. Paulson, he's a decent player. I mean, he'll give you a little bit of pop or whatever. Doesn't take many walks and strikes out too much. Like I said, Mark Reynolds, he has the big power, but his average is way too low most seasons just because he's so prone to the strikeout. So I think they need to do something at first base at some point. It's surprising because, like you said, Justin Morneau's out there.
Well, I think they actually probably want Paulson to seize the job, actually. I mean,
I'm sure they do.
I'd like to think at this point it's his job to lose. He's a young guy, has the pop. He'll definitely grow into some more power. As long as he can play first base good, you know, I pretty much see your starter for at least the next couple seasons.
So you like Ben Paulson, to tell you the truth?
I mean, I just think is he going to seize the opportunity is what I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has to take a few more walks and definitely take that strikeout rate down. It was way too high last season.
He's still a young guy.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, he can improve on it, don't get me wrong. What do you think about this infield? Trevor Story obviously got to step up if he gets that starting job, or else they're a little short at shortstop right now. Daniel Descalso actually he has a broken bone in his hand, I believe, so he's going to be out for a little while as well. So it looks all right if everybody plays to their ability, but that might not happen with these young guys like Ben Paulson and Trevor Story. And we'll have to see if LeMahieu can repeat what he did last season as well.
Whenever I see that infield, though, Arenado is definitely your only safe bet.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree with that.
I mean, it's not underwhelming, but it's not really, great either.
Well, I mean, if they can give you what they did last season, including Trevor Story, what he did last season in the minor leagues, and then second, short, and third base look really good to me. We'll just have to see about first, like I was saying before. But a couple guys you may see this season, actually, outside of Trevor Story and Christian Dames, like I was saying before, a couple outfielders, David Dahl, we're still waiting on this guy, but he's still only 21 years old. In 288 at bats in Double-A last season, he hit 278 with a 304 on base, 6 jacks. He actually has a little bit more power than that, they believe. You could see him get up into the 20 home run range. He also had 22 stolen bases as well, so he could be a 20-20 type guy probably. But the big problem with him is the same with a lot of these Colorado prospects, man. He strikes out way too much. 72 strikeouts in 288 at-bats. That's not going to get it done in the bigs, and that 278 average is going to drop down around 238. And he only took 11 walks as well, so he does not have great plate discipline right now. But the thing about him is he has a nice power speed combo, and he plays great defense. He could play center field. I don't know if that's where he'll end up or whatever, but this guy's very talented. It's just he got to get better plate discipline, or it's just not going to work out for him, in my opinion. And then another outfielder, Jordan Patterson. He's 24 now. He needs to get his chance soon. In 488 at bats between A advanced and Double-A last season, he hit 297 with a 364 on base, 12 jacks, had 18 stolen bases, but again, 130 Ks in those 488 at bats compared to just 30 walks. So that average and that on base percentage is going to go down unless he can fix that a little bit. But they look like two pretty decent players as well. But like we said, this outfield, I mean, there's really no room right now unless there's an injury at some point or if Parr doesn't work out. But, I mean, Parr's always been a starting type player, you know what I mean? What about a catcher? Do you like Nick Hundley? He has a little bit of a bat. They should play up in Colorado, obviously.
You know, they raised the walls out there slightly in Colorado.
They need to. They need to push the fence back another, 200 feet as well.
They raised the height of the walls.
That should help a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got Nick Hundley. He's pretty much just keeping a position warm until Tom Murphy's going to be ready.
Tom Murphy, they got him as well, and they have Dustin Garneau, who, I mean, he didn't do much last season. He was just their backup or whatever, so I don't see much out of him or whatever. You like Tom Murphy, though?
I mean, he got good pop. He plays good defense. What's there not really to like?
I'll tell you who I like in this system. You're not going to see him this season. He's in single A. His name's Dom Nunez, man. 21 years old. Last season, look, 373 at-bats. 53 walks compared to 55 Ks, had 13 home runs as well, 282 average, a 373 on base. This guy can seriously hit. He has a little bit of work to do on his defense or whatever, but in a few years, I think we're going to think of Dom Nunez as one of the best prospects in baseball, at least from the catcher position. So you like Tom Murphy. I kind of like Nick Hundley's bat, so we're thinking they're not too bad at catcher as well. So this offense, I mean, a lot of things got to come together here, but it could be a pretty good offense in the end if everything works out. And it'd be nice to get Jose Reyes back at some point as well. Maybe he does come back after a suspension. What do you think about this rotation, though? I think this is their downfall here.
No, sir, I don't like it.
Yeah, you got John Gray. He obviously one of the top prospects after being drafted a couple years ago. Now, last season he made his debut and he pitched very well on the road and very bad at home. And that's not a big surprise when you're pitching in Colorado. You know, I actually seen this article this season that there's been studies done and there's actually evidence that a curveball does not curve as much in Colorado. And that's going to kill any pitcher if this is true facts, you know what I mean? So you can see why a lot of these pitchers have huge home road splits for Colorado. And I believe if Gray was somewhere else, he could turn into a top-end ace. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do it in Colorado or not because we've seen last season he got lit up at home. Now, he's still a young guy. He has a lot of upside ahead of him and a lot of room to improve. So he may turn into an ace. We just really haven't seen it in Colorado at all. Ubaldo Jimenez maybe at one point for a couple years.
But wouldn't you be able to just compensate for that? Then draft pitchers that throw curveballs.
Well, everybody got to use some kind of...
Well, maybe a slider or something like that.
Well, I mean, anything. I guess it's anything doesn't curve as much, you know what I mean? Any kind of break on a ball isn't breaking as much in the thin air. Which kind of makes sense if you think about it.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying you should be able to compensate for it.
I mean, what they really need to do is bring in ground ball pitchers after ground ball pitcher after ground ball pitcher. That's
Ground
what they
chuck.
need.
You still gotta, you gotta keep that ball down though. though. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is tough,
And that's
man.
well, that's Gray's problem. He just has a tendency to
Yeah, he's a
be
fly
high in
ball
the
pitcher.
zone, dude.
Yeah, he's a fly ball pitcher, man, and that's really going to hurt in Colorado. I mean, you can change. You've seen the Pirates change Garrett Cole into a ground ball pitcher. They've been asking him for years to do it. So you can change into a ground ball pitcher, but I don't know, man. It's tough to pitch in Colorado, and John Gray's the biggest upside they have right now. Outside of that, Jorge De La Rosa, Chad Bettis, Tyler Chatwood, Jordan Lyles, and they have Eddie Butler as well. This is a young guy still as well, and he pitched pretty well in the minor leagues. He comes up to the big league team, and he just hasn't proven himself yet. He just hasn't pitched well enough to make this rotation at this point, but maybe he squeaks in somehow because there's really, I mean, there's no one here that outside of Gray that I would definitely trust in this rotation. Although they do like De La Rosa and Chad Bettis out there as well, and you were telling me they like Tyler Chatwood as well, right?
He's a former high draft choice. He's just missed a lot of time with injuries.
So, I mean, I guess they have some guys they like out here. There's no way I'm going to trust this. Even John Gray, I mean, he hasn't pitched well at home, and they play half their season there. So, I don't know about this rotation at this point. It's hard to just like any rotation in Colorado, obviously. But they do have Jeff Hoffman in the minors. He's 23 years old, pitched in the advanced and double-A last season, combined for a 3.03 ERA, 75 Ks compared to 27 walks in 104 innings. So you'd like to see him strike out more. He actually has a mid-90s fastball, so you'd want to see those strikeouts up a little bit. But you can't argue with the 27 walks. So he has great control, and he's a ground ball pitcher like we were just saying as well. So maybe Jeff Hoffman works his way into this rotation later this season. Maybe you see him in 2017. They also have a couple other guys that are pretty good in this system on this pitching staff. Antonio Senzatella and Kyle Freeland. You're probably not going to see them this season as well. But really, Colorado's system, man, they're actually beasts. Couple guys I didn't mention when we were talking about the offense. Ryan McMahon, a big third baseman. He can hit around 300. He strikes out too much, just like a lot of these prospects, though. Brendan Rodgers, you mentioned JK. Dom Nunez, I mentioned. Raimel Tapia is another outfielder you're going to see here within the next couple years. This is a guy that has a high average, strikes out too much, doesn't walk enough. And second baseman Forrest Wall as well. So this is a guy that has a good bat, has a little bit of pop, a little bit of speed as well. So there's a lot of good-looking prospects out here. A lot of them do K too much, don't walk enough. So we'll have to see. That's a recipe for disaster, really. But some of them are going to work out. Some are not going to work out, in my opinion. But back to this rotation real quick. So if they get Hoffman in this rotation this season, it might look a little bit better if De La Rosa and Bettis and Chatwood work out how they want. But, I mean, that's obviously hard to say that's going to happen. I highly doubt it. So I'm going to say this team gets lit up pitching as usual. Would you not agree?
Oh, they're going to be terrible.
At least in the rotation. Like I said, their bullpen isn't that bad. I kind of like what they got at the back end here. I mean, Jason Watt may close. It looks like they're going to run a committee, but a lot of people thinking Mott might be the first one to get his chance. But they got Chad Qualls. Like I said, they brought Jake McGee over in that trade. He's probably the one with the highest upside, in my opinion, outside of Hadro Diaz. But, like, he's done for the season, obviously, with Tommy John, like I said. And Miguel Castro, a guy that pitched for the Blue Jays a little bit last season. He got a chance to close for a little bit, and it didn't work out. But this is a guy with a big fastball, and he looks like he could be a good pitcher here in the future. So I think they have some nice pieces in the bullpen. You can't forget Boone Logan, a lefty specialist that has dominated lefties over the past few years, including with the New York Yankees. So I like the bullpen, and I think that can help out a lot. And it may be the strongest part of this team, in my opinion. But the rotation's so bad. They got a lot of good-looking things offensively. But there's a lot of questions of whether it's going to pan out the way they want or not. So the Colorado Rockies, I don't see much improvement from last season, to tell you the truth. Like I said, they were terrible last season, and they got some good performances out of guys like LeMahieu. And, well, Arenado actually is a beast. But Carlos Gonzalez coming up with one of his healthiest seasons. Charlie Blackmon was a good player for him. Corey Dickerson was a good player for him. Still couldn't win because the rotation just can't get it done.
Well, keep this in mind. They had their only winning record on the road whenever they went to the World Series. Pretty much the key for this ball club, even if they're able to win at home, is winning on the road. And they've had just terrible home road records the last several years.
Maybe John Gray can help that out. Maybe Jeff Hoffman can get in this rotation and help that out and turn that record around a little bit. Who knows? But I'm going to say the Colorado Rockies, 5th place.
And, well, you'll say, and that's 5 out of 5, so you're saying they're going to finish last. So I'm just going to, for you number geeks out there, I'll throw a number out. Over or under 76 wins.
Well, I think they won 68 games last year, correct? 47? I think that's what we said a little bit ago. 68 wins. So I'm going to go under. They're not going to win 8 more games than last season.
Oh, they're not?
No.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I actually think that some of the arms in that rotation might pan out this year because they're young still.
John Gray, I like him.
I like Mr. Bettis too. He has potential.
Bettis
has
bus.
He has potential to be the bus. Got potential to be an ace also. But I'll say they'll finish in 4th place, just slightly ahead of the San Diego.
What are you saying? 47.
I just don't think they're going to be able to pitch this year. Simple as that. 5th place.
What do you feel about John Gray? You don't like him?
I like John Gray. It's just, I mean, is he going to get command of his stuff is what I'm asking. If he can go full throttle, I mean, this guy's going to be dominating.
Yeah.
He actually has to hold himself back, just to be in the strike zone sometimes. So, I mean, if he can figure that out and bring his mechanics into true form, he's going to be awesome.
So what are you saying? Over or under? What'd you make it?
76.
76 wins.
I say over.
Over 76 wins. What are you saying?
Under.
Under. Ian, which place you say? 5th place?
5th place. I think they're going to have about either the same amount of wins this year as last year, or
might be a little better. I don't think 8 games better. That's just too much. It sucks when they made that Troy Tulowitzki trade. They got some good pieces in return. In fact, they got Miguel Castro along with Jose Reyes, and you're thinking, oh, they didn't downgrade too much at shortstop. Well, Jose Reyes, that might be a worthless ad at this point. But that's it. 2/5 and 1/4.
So basically, you're predicting the bottom of the NL West.
Believe it.
Well, fans, if you got any questions or comments, you can hit us up on Twitter at bet_spread. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to that YouTube channel. How do they get to us in YouTube, Aaron?
YouTube.com/betthespread.
/betthespread. We're going to be coming up with our next episode, diving deeper into the NL West. Keep clicking subscribe.